It's Tuesday Wrestling, and you all know what that means. That means we get to review NWA Powerrr, where we continue on with more of the national title tournament qualifier matches. And of course, we're still getting the whole thing with Bully Ray dealing with the Cardona family once again. And also on AEW Dark, we only have 11 matches here. There are going to be some interesting matches we definitely going to be talking about. And of course, finally, NXT. As you know, we're back to the whole golden brag, no more 2.0 as we normally expect. But however, we do have the situation taking place, the aftermath after what happened when Solo Sikoa showed up uninvitedly and defeated Carmelo Hayes, and also a #1 contendership match between JD McDonough and Tyler Bate. Which one of them will walk out to face Braun Breaker at Halloween Havoc? Well, we'll find out soon enough. And of course, we got some news updates that have been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, let's begin with NWA Powerrr. It opened up with the semifinals of the National Championship Tournament Qualifier match. We have, of course, Dak Draper taking on Brian Myers. Now, keep in mind, Brian Myers has been cheating his way up because he proclaims himself as the most professional wrestler. However, he tried everything in his power to stop Dak Draper. Draper even had the match under his control. But once again, of course, Brian Myers tried to use the ropes, but frankly, it did not work. But the ref even saw that. Because he was distracted with the refs, but trying to pretend that he did not know what he's talking about, it cost him the match, giving, of course, Dak Draper the O'Connor rolls, and then he won the match. In disbelief by Brian Myers, he actually lost. And of course, I'm sure Velvet Sky was happy about it. Now, our next interview, of course, Joe Galli went to talk to Bully Ray. Apparently, he contacted the one guy he thought who can help him in this match. Turns out that he couldn't do it, so basically Bully Ray has to do this on his own. Now, of course, Matt Cardonas saw this. He thinks that he's politically correct. He thinks that he knows Bully Ray better than everyone, because the problem was he thinks that Bully Ray is the villain in the entire story. That's always been like that. Even Mike Knox is in denial. He doesn't believe that he lost in that tables match. But we'll see what happens later on. Now, our next match is more on the national title qualifier match. Semifinal match, of course, we have Magic Jake Dumas versus Chris Adonis. Now, this is a very interesting matchup because here's the way it goes. Dumas has always had tricks up his sleeves in order to win. But the biggest mistake was trying to apply Master Lock on him, but it wasn't good enough for him. But luckily, of course, Chris Adonis was able to overturn that, put the Master Lock, and he passed out completely. He advances. So basically, we only got one more match completely. So we have Dak Draper and Chris Adonis. There is one more match left. We'll find out when we get there. Now, our next interview, as you know, we have, of course, members of the Austin Idol Mania management. We have Jordan Clearwater and Marshe Rocky. Now, right now, these two individuals, you know, they've been a cohesive tag team. Right now, they have one tag team titles on their mind, and that is the NWA United States Tag Team titles that currently the Fixers have. So that's primary to goal. But Black G's right now, he's in disbelief. What's been going on about Tyrus? Now, keep in mind, Tyrus' really his goal was to obtain 2 titles. Now, if you guys remember this or not, the NWA World Television title, you only have a chance if you win 7 matches straight in a row. You get an opportunity of the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Tyrus surpassed that already, but he refuses to cash it in because he wanted to hold the belts. But now the situation is most likely he wants to cash it in order to have the NWA World Heavyweight title with him. That's the primary goal. But Black Jesus is trying to say that wasn't part of the plan to cash in the title. Well, looks like he may not have another choice. So that's possibly what the deal is. But whatever's going to happen, we'll see. Now, our next match, we have Joe Ocasio, Marshe Rockett, and Eric Jackson. Now, of course, Ocasio, who was being a little, trying to be friends with Jackson, did not work. He decided to trick Eric Jackson in order to this. But however, the one thing that was intense is how this match was going to go. However, Ocasio thinks he had everything under control, but frankly, it did not, because the Marshe kick finished off, of course, Ocasio. 1, 2, 3, it was done. Now, our last interview we have, of course, is Ricky Morton and Kerry Morton having an interview with May Valentine. Now, recently we saw the Fixers. Looks like they wanted to apologize to the Mortons for what they did, but of course the Mortons have this thing where we don't know if we can trust you or not. So that kind of puts it in the way, but they're willing to see how this is going to go with them. So let's just hope that happens. Now, our main event, of course, is the tag team match. We have the Cardonas, consistent of VSK and Mike Knox, along with that weasel, Matt Cardona, being there. And here comes Bully Ray on his own. And then Matt Cardona grabbed the mic saying, "I told you nobody wants your friend." He acts like he thinks he knows how the world works. Now, Bully Ray did everything in his power to ensure, but every time he looks, he has no one until the unexpected. And I had a feeling that he was going to show up. And that person was none other than Tom Latimer. That's right, folks. Tom Latimer showed up. Matt Cardona was in disbelief. Now, keep in mind, the only reason that Tom Latimer shows up, he respects Bully Ray because he was the one who trained his wife. So he felt like maybe it's his obligation to help his wife's mentor. And I think that showed it. But he did the ending of the work in order to finish off when he pinned VSK. As soon as that happened, he extended his hands to Bully Ray. And I think Bully Ray appreciated that. I don't think he expected it, but I think he appreciated it. But what does that tell us? Is Matt Cardona wrong? Does he think that Bully Ray has no friends? He forgets. Camille was trained by Bully Ray, and Camille is married to Tom Latimer. So basically, there's a connection. So we'll see what goes on. But I wouldn't be surprised, for some odd reason, that Bully Ray will reward Tom Latimer with something bigger. That's something that comes into mind. Because one thing I know for sure, there's two things that right now is on Tom Latimer's mind. One, EC3, trying to get into his head. And then two, of course, the one title that he desires the most is the NWA World Heavyweight title. That is one of the things, of course, he is looking for. But we'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks with NWA Powerrr. But right now, let's move on with AEW Dark. Okay, AEW Dark opened up with Reynolds and Silver of the Dark Order taking on Ruka and Alexander Moss. I thought it was a pretty good match because I always do appreciate the combos that both Silver and Reynolds do. They're really amazing how they cohesive together, and that's what finished off the match, winning it in their favor. Next up, we got Emi Sakura versus Bo or Drew or whatever. I forgot her name. Can't pronounce her name because it sounds French. I have to say, when I see Emi, I did not expect how she was going to finish this match. We all assumed that she was going to finish it off with the Queen's Gambit, but she applied a moonsault. So that kind of is a new arsenal in her repertoire, because I know recently she had used it before. This was unorthodox on her part, but from seeing on her Twitter page, she actually practiced it. And I'm sure Balinaki took part in helping her out with that. Now, our next match, we have the Trustbusters, Slim J, Parker Boudreaux, and Ari Daivari taking on Mike Magnum, GMK, and Marcus Cross. Now, you probably can presume how this match was going to go. But I think that what's interesting is GMK, who's the biggest individual in his team, called out Parker Boudreaux. Now, you can say, is that foolish? Yes. Was it pretty gutsy? Yes. But the real question, was it worth it? No. Basically, nothing phased Parker Boudreaux. But unfortunately, it was R.A. Daivari that picked up the win with the Frog Splash, giving him the W for the Trustbusters. Next up, we have, of course, Anthony Ogogo taking on Luke Curtis. Now, as you know, he attacked, went for it right away, and of course he knocked him out unconscious. That's how it is. But he put out a promo feeling that he's being left out because none of the top wrestlers are willing to challenge him. He thinks that they're afraid of him. I don't know if that's the case, or maybe they just don't think he's worth it, or whatever. So that's the thing that goes into mind. Now our next match is, of course, the reality. Zach Clayton taking on Vario Morales. But as you know, this is one of those matches, of course, where Zach Clayton is now being better and better in his ring, in the ring. But he applied a cutter type move onto Vario Morales to win the match. But also during his post-match comments, he actually saying that it's the reality, all this and that. So we'll see what happens when we get to when he grows up, the way he does things in ring. We'll see from there. Next up, we got Marina Shafir versus La Rosa Negra. As you know, we did not see Vicky or Nyla Rose by her side, but this time Marina Shafir was able to apply, I don't know what to call this submission that she does, but she managed to use like a leg lock with a kind of some type of a leg lock with the arm attached, and then boom, forcing her to tap out. Next up, we got Madison Rayne versus Viva Van. I've seen Viva Van a few times, you know, even outside of NWA, I mean AEW, but I thought it was great. But it was Madison with the cross reins that finished her off, giving her a good match. So it's strange that now she is wrestling, but she is also going to be serving as a coach, as she mentioned during the post-match comments with Tony Schiavone. So we can't wait to see what else is going to happen. But hopefully we'll see more in her in the ring. Next up, we got Kylan King versus Sahara 7. We haven't seen Kylan King in AEW for a while. We know she appeared on various promotions, especially NWA. But it was good to see her, but looks like she hasn't missed a step at all. And she was able to apply a very interesting pinfall on Sahara. 1, 2, 3, it was over. Next up, we got Josh Woods and Tony Nese, along with Smart Mark Sterling, taking on Balian Aki and Ryan Matthews. Now, you probably know this match was going to be in a vicious state because these two men, Nese and Woods, are two of the most well-trained athletes. But however, it was the combination net breaker that allowed them to win the match when Matthews was the one pinned. Next up, we have Sonny Kiss along with the Trustbusters taking on Joe Ocasio. I thought it was a pretty good match with Sonny Kiss, especially when the way he finished off Ocasio with a spinning enziguri, a corkscrew enziguri. I thought it was amazing how that ends. Of course, sending the message saying the Trustbusters are making money. In our main event, we have JD Drake versus Matt Sydal. This match was the battle of two different veteran types of wrestlers. One a blue collar, one who's been involved in both high flying and groundwork. But I did not anticipate a whole lot in this match, but it was the lightning spiral by Matt Sydal that picked up the victory. However, Matt Sydal was attacked by Anthony Henry, sending a clear message that the Workhorsemen are sending to the entire locker room that they're not here to play around, that they're here to beat up anybody that stands in their way. So I think that's pretty much it with AEW Dark. Let's move on to our final review, which is NXT. Okay, our final review is NXT. We opened up with, of course, with the situation that took place last week. Now, keep in mind, last week, Carmelo Hayes had the audacity to attack Wesley to ensure he does not face him for the NXT North American title. However, things did not go exactly like he thought. We saw the unexpected arrival of Solo Sikoa, and he defeated Carmelo Hayes. However, he went to the office to see if he can get that title back. However, Shawn Michaels was there too, and Solo Sikoa. But this time, he overturned of the match. He kind of told Solo Sikoa he had no business being there, that he is not, the fans did not vote for him. so he had to turn over the title. However, Solo Sikoa says it's okay. At least, you know, I got what I did. So basically, he beat Carmelo Hayes like he wanted, and he got a taste of what it is. So even Carmelo Hayes thinks that Shawn Michaels is going to hand him over the title. However, Shawn Michaels had a better idea. He decided that he's going to put Carmelo Hayes in a match with 4 others for a ladder match at Halloween Havoc in 6 ring times. So basically, we're going to have a series of matches of that. So that one's going to take, one of the matches will be taking place later on. Now, our opening match we have is the best of 3 series in a second match between Axiom and Nathan Frazier. Now, keep in mind, Axiom already won round for the first fall. However, if he wins with this match against Nathan Frazier, it's over. But if Nathan Frazier able to pin him or tie, we go into sudden death and see which one of them will walk out. I have to say this was a really good match, but somehow with Nathan Frazier, he was able to pick up one fall already with the Phoenix Splash. 1, 2, 3, it's done. Now, Alba Fyre, as you know, recently has made her return. Now, keep in mind, Mandy Rose believes no one is on her level, but Alba Fyre believes something else. She thinks that Mandy Rose is scared of her. She's been ducking her. Keep in mind, Mandy Rose has been trying to make sure the title stays in her side, but as soon as this little video package came out, Mandy saw it. She seems like a little worried, but however, the Toxic Attraction are set to face Ivy Nile and Tatum Paxton. But however, before that match gets started, we see a video of Damon Kemp talking how he planned the whole thing. It turned out that all of this was a plan that he made with Tony D'Angelo. It turned out that Roderick Strong found evidence suggesting that he did not play this little game. So basically, Damon Kemp played the little game and decided to take him out before the exposure happened. And once it did, it showed up. But even Ivy Nile is pissed. But Tatum Paxley was right about one thing. She needed to focus, but apparently she's not focused. During her match against Toxic, she tried the best in her ability, but it wasn't. But the obvious question was true. Is Ivy Nile really pissed? Now, Tatum Paxley understands that, but right now, the whole thing with Damon Kemp is now getting into their heads. Now, our next match, our next little thing, Schism comes out with a little promo talking about all this and that. But Joe Gacy, as you know, he's been very sadistic, trying to convince that he's trying to save Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes does not want nothing to do with, of course, with Joe Gacy or Schism. But of course, Malik Blade and Enofin Idris, who were attacked last week because they refused to vote for Joe Gacy, confronted both the Dyad on this matter. But the match was pretty good, I have to say. But however, the Dyad, on the other hand, in their match took place, they played the smarter game in order to eliminate Malik Blade, in order for one of them to pin Enofin Idris. So basically, they're proving to the Schism that their propaganda is the true meaning of it. Now, our next match, we have Wendy Choo versus Cora Jade. Now, Cora Jade has been on a rampage ever since, as you know, she felt that this was her time. She called out many other superstars who believe that they are not in their right, like that they're weird, ignorant, stupid, and she pointed out Wendy Choo. But however, apparently it did not go well. Cora Jade ended up put the applied on the DDT onto Wendy Choo, but however, she was brutally attacked by Lash Legend, who felt disrespected. Now, keep in mind, Lash Legend has the tendency to complain and bitch about how things don't go well. She thinks, nope, it's my time. But Wendy Choo, on the other hand, stood up against her. I wouldn't be surprised that Lash Legend is going to get hell from Wendy Choo, because keep in mind, she did that with Tiffany Stratton, who we haven't seen for quite some time. But we'll find out what happens then. Now, we do get an interview with Braun Breaker, as you know. They gave him his thoughts about, of course, who will walk out as the #1 contender. Now, he knows that he can't take away anything from both men. They're good at what they do. But he said that he really would like to have another shot at Tyler Bate because, of course, their match was a whole lot of banger, which is, of course, true. Now, we see an interview with Oro Mensah, who we've seen him in NXT UK as Ashton Carter. Apparently, he was renamed. Now we're going to see what he's good. It turns out that he is now going to be in the qualifying match for the North American title. In the latter match that's going to take place, he faces off the cocky, arrogant Grayson Waller. So that's what's going to happen. So we'll see what can he actually put away Grayson Waller, or waste Grayson Waller will be that same prick that he's always been. Now, as you know, Carmelo Hayes has been not happy with the situation, how things are now. He knows he has to get back on the title reign. That's always been his case. But once again, he was interrupted by Chase U, decided to make this a teachable moment. And of course, it ended up with Hayes and Williams taking on Bodie Haywood and Andre Chase. I thought the match was pretty good. But I think right now, it was really interesting how Chase U was able to pin Carmelo Hayes. It was interesting. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Carmelo Hayes decided to take his frustrations out, but right now, they remain focused on the title reign. Keep in mind, the obvious question we need to understand, is Carmelo Hayes really losing it? Keep in mind, he always saying that he is the A-champ, but is the A-champ really losing his mind? We'll find out. Now, as you know, we have seen Gallus make their appearance. They kind of set up their own little poker table in the back, but they were confronted by Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs along with Fallon Henley. Looks more like they want to brawl once again. Now keep in mind, Gallus have been making problems ever since they arrived in NXT, so we'll see what happens then. Now our next match, we have Sanga versus Von Wagner. Now a week ago, as you know, Sanga, who's been like a coach, a mentor to Yulisa Leon and Valentina Perez. As you know, Yulisa Leon will be out for 9 months. Now, Von Wagner and Mr. Stone decided to bitch about how they were not voted, how Von Wagner was not added up. They decided to overshadow Yulisa Leon's injury, thinking it doesn't matter. It does matter because he's been a good mentor to them. However, the obvious question does remain. Sanga is a very big dude, but could he put away a douchebag like Von Wagner? We don't know, but it was a very intense match. But he pulled off a very interesting win, Von Wagner defeating Sanga. So the obvious question does remain, who can stop him? But the obvious question also remains, will he be opportunity to get a title shot, which is something we know Mr. Stone will do what he can. We'll find out soon enough. Now, our next match, as you know, interview, we have Stacks. He witnessed a video package by Wesley, as you know. He asked not to give him special treatment. Now, keep in mind, what happened to him last week was uncalled for by Carmelo Hayes. He felt like, look, I don't want this to be handed to me. I want to earn it the right way. And Stacks thinks that he was full of it. He should have accepted it, but he made the biggest mistake. But it turns out that he will be facing in the qualifying match for the North American title against Stacks next week. Against the Don of NXT, Tony D'Angelo. Now, our next match, of course, we have more on the North American qualifying match. We have Grayson Waller versus Oro Mensah. I thought this match was going to be interesting because it showed Oro Mensah is really taking this seriously. But, however, Grayson Waller, as you know, he will do anything in his power to show the world, I'm going to make a viral people. So that's what he's been doing. Now, this is not the first time he's been preceding the North American title. Now, when he was about to pull off the finisher, all of a sudden, here comes Apollo Crews with his eye bleeding. He was like seeing a ghost. But luckily, because of the distraction, it gave Oro Mensah the chance to take him down and then finally do a spinning heel kick right on his face. 1, 2, 3. But the obvious now question does remain. We know that Oro is in, but what does Grayson Waller going to do? He's going to complain next week. We know that. But the obvious is what goes on his mind. He thought he got rid of Apollo Crews. He thinks he's doing the world a favor. He feels that guys like him are taking other people's spots. But right now, he might have made things worse for himself. Now, regarding to what Damon Kemp did and said recently, the Creed brothers are really pissed. So basically, they've been arguing who should be going out, taking shot of Damon Kemp. Now, they all try to outdo each other. Julius hasn't forgotten he got handcuffed. Brodus did. So basically, it was decided that Brodus is going to take the first shot at Damon Kemp. So we'll see when that happens. Now, it's announced that there will be a new debut coming this week, Solo Sikoa. We have seen her on NXT Level Up on many occasions. She's a very interesting wrestler. She has this look of a surfer, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we'll see what it goes. Now, our final match is the NXT title #1 contender match. We have Tyler Bate versus JD McDonough. Now, these two men know each other perfectly. They faced each other during their time in NXT UK. So basically, who's going to walk out? Braun Breaker, on the other hand, was commentating, seeing what's going on. But it was a crazy match. There was a moment where, of course, JD McDonough threw a Spanish fly right on the mat, and then all of a sudden, Tyler Bate punched him. It was nuts. But unfortunately, the match ended in the favor of JD McDonough when he applied the Devil in Shy. 1, 2, 3. He becomes the #1 contender. Braun Breaker decided to confront him, and of course, JD McDonough saying that this title is his. But the party was interrupted by an unexpected arrival. The former NXT UK champion, who was out for a while, Ilya Dragunov, and JD McDonough was living it. He cannot believe that this man shows up raining on his parade. But Braun Breaker, as you know, he's happy about it. Reason is, Braun Breaker is never, ever afraid to take on a challenge. He knows how tough Ilya Dragunov is, but of course JD McDonough does not appreciate someone like him trying to steal his moment. Now, if you remember correctly, back in NXT UK, he tried to challenge him for the title and he lost on multiple occasions, believing that he is not a true champion, but obviously he was, and now looks more like the hits are keep on coming. So the obvious question is, how will this play out now? Since JD McDonough is the #1 contender, what does this mean for Ilya Dragunov? Are we going to have a triple threat match? We don't know. So we'll find out the following weeks, or I'll be following it on social media to see how this is going to go. So I think that's pretty much it right now with the reviews. Let's move on with our last thing, which is news updates. Okay, welcome to our news updates here. So it started out with GLEAT. Now, I failed to mention of a new type of event they're going to be throwing, GLEAT, down in Japan, called GLEAT MMA. So basically, they'll be throwing some MMA stuff. So I'm going to presume this will be free on YouTube. So if you guys are a big fan of that, you should know. But, however, this event will be called GLEAT MMA version 0. So this is the beginning of the whole thing. But also, and it's going to be starting on the 14th of December. So if you guys are big fans of MMA, check it out. But however, they even announced for the match, we have, of course, Tetsuya Izushi from 60 Seconds taking on Yuki Kondo. So that's, I don't know who this guy Yuki Kondo, but I'm kind of curious. If this appears on YouTube, I'll be happy with it. However, in relations to GLEAT, we have, of course, another event called the G Pro Wrestling Version Extra. I don't know what the extra is supposed to mean. Look, possibly they're going to do something different. That's going to take place later on in October, I believe. But, however, one match has been announced. We have the members of, what's it called? Of course, the Bulk Orchestra, Riguchi Kawakami, and Hayato Tamura to take on Jun Kasai and Masashi Takeda. So, I'm kind of interested how that's going to go. I don't remember when the extra is going to show up, but we'll see I will keep apprised to everyone on that. Just to keep a reminder, the 25th, we do get the next G Pro Wrestling version 35 this coming weekend on the 24th or the 25th, one of the two. Now, New Japan Pro Wrestling has announced that Kushida will be out of action for quite some time due to the fact that they suspect that he may be having skin disease. So we don't know how bad it is, but apparently there will be some changes in the card. So we'll see how that goes. Great news for all American fans. You may have heard or not. Deadlock Pro Wrestling out of Raleigh, North Carolina has announced that Mei Suruga, the Big Apple, will be making her debut for the upcoming event in October on the 15th. in Durham, North Carolina at the DDP Carolina Classic, which is the next pay-per-view. I'm kind of excited for that. And finally, GCW Japan update for everyone on the 27th for DOA. It was announced that the Grace Sasaki and Masato Tanaka will be facing against Kikutaro and Jimmy Lloyd. So I'm excited for that match. I can't wait to see what takes place. So hope everybody mark everything on their calendar for upcoming events and what's going to be taking place. So I believe that's pretty much it what we got. So let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. I know I have. I said I was going to do 2 videos, and I wasn't lying. So right now, for the upcoming video, I said I was going to do AEW Dynamite, but I'm not sure yet because for another event that I want to cover or not. The reason is this: I'm going back to work on Wednesday, so we'll see how that goes. If I do have time, I'll do the best of my ability to get to watch it and enjoy it, because I really want to get everything done for everyone, to catch up what I've missed, what I haven't seen. I know there's several events, and just to let everybody know, I just made the email for a couple of requests for a couple of videos that wrestling events coming up in the month of October. Of course, we have Gambari Pro coming up on the 2nd of October. That's going to be a huge match where we have Yuna Mazane taking on Harley Jackson for the Spirit of Gambari Pro World Title, and of course we have we have the event with Just Tap Out that features Unagi being in it. I want to see that match, and of course 2 days of Pro Wrestling Wave on the 8th and 9th, or the 9th or 10th of October, and then finally October 26th, Women World Pro Wrestling Diana at Corkin Hall. So we'll see what happens. I just sent the email, and we'll see from there. But for now, I'll see you guys on the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day.